our guest, Mr. Sai Ravi Suribhotla from Chicago, the US. Member of Real People Reality. Why did you choose real estate?
I worked in education institution, insurance agencies and all that. Just like any other kid growing up from Andhra, I think liking towards real estate, I guess.
Tried your hand in real estate and as a part time. How it was it tough? Was it easy?
I started doing that to get experience, at least how I answer to the buyers. I need experience myself too. And nowadays, even with this market, we are seeing some homes are paying like $1,000, some homes paying like $3,000 or 2% or 1.5%. India said, oh, the 6% era is gone. During COVID too, there's a lot of panic going on, what to do, what not to do. And then now it's like the market is crazy. People buy gold and all, like real estate is always gold, in my opinion. So don't be afraid, everybody should buy.
Welcome to Reality Club podcast, where we dive deep into the journey of successful regional realtors from around the globe. I'm your host, Arun C.R. We'll explore the inspiring stories, pivotal decisions, and remarkable qualities that has propelled our guests to success in the world of real estate. Whether you are a seasoned pro or just starting out, join us as we uncover valuable insights and lessons learned from those who have navigated the path to greatness. This is Reality Club, where realtors come to share, inspire, and elevate. I'm very happy to invite today our guest, Mr. Sai Ravi Suribhotla from Chicago, the US. After investing almost 2 decades in IT industry, he ventured into as a realty crooner full time in 2001, but he started his journey in real estate as early as 2017. I'm very excited to probably explore more on his journey and probably learn more from him. Welcome, Sai.
Thank you so much, Arun. It is a great pleasure for me, like to be on the podcast with you. And then I heard a lot of good things about your channel and your the efforts that you're doing. So I really appreciate that. And then it's really a great honor to be here with you and like kind of remember all my journey like that I have been through. So that'll be really nice to share with your audience.
So, just a simple start, right? So, I mean, all of us hear this story, at least in India. I do not know about the West. That as soon as we say real estate, we, in spite of you doing a few million transactions, few million rupees as a developer or a broker, whoever it is, the importance of that job or the respect in the mind space in the perception is not the same among the audience or the society. So if I am assuming that's the case there, why did you choose real estate? And why I even invited you is because having put it the glamorous work for 2 decades in IT, right? And with various brands, various global brands you've worked as a, you've been part of. In spite of it, you have chosen real estate. That is something very curious. That's what I would basically would like to start with.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so just like any other engineering student from Andhra, right? Like I came here like for my master's back in like 2000, and then I started working in the IT industry. I had like you said, almost close to 20 years of IT industry. Like I worked with various banks, like GE Money, Northern Trust Bank. I worked in education institution, insurance agencies, and all that. So, but as a just like any other kid growing up, and then of course, like especially from Andhra, I think we had that liking towards real estate, I guess. So everybody like you, I mean, like especially when you're around with friends, like people are either investing in gold, they're investing in stocks, and they're investing in real estate. And real estate has always been like around the globe, like has been I would say is the best investment vehicle So where you can either pass it on to generations, or you'll see like a lot of value growth your portfolio, right? And that's a property that you see, like, I mean, you want one 5 years or to live in it, and then maybe like invest in land, invest in commercial. Like there are a lot of avenues that you can dive into depending on your interest and your risk level, and develop your portfolio. So when I bought my house initially, like I didn't get proper help from agent I was working with. So then I thought, I'm like, and then of course, like a lot of friends buying homes and all that. Like we always used to go for like open houses, or like go for to give suggestions like that to the new buyers, right? Because as an experienced homeowner or something, then it kind of grew my interest. And also my dad was a civil engineer, so he used to be in roads and buildings. So maybe in the back of my mind I always has that thing, that liking for development too, especially homes really enticed us. So
Well, because why am I curious is that your IT jobs would have paid you enough, right? Uh, but to venture after 2 decades almost, and something would have, being an outsider then, right? Something would have said that probably was it the return or the earning potential which drew you in? Is that what it was?
that is definitely one reason for sure. So just like I mean, any other like person like wanted to succeed in life, right? Yes, IT was a very comfortable job for me. Like it's like it's giving me the bread and butter, and like the salary that I wanted. But of course, like you want to try something different, you want to grow. Either you have the passion to grow in the same industry, like you want to be a manager, director, like probably, or some people start a company, right? A IT company. But for some reason I was never into like that management, or even like my own company, like in the IT industry. Like I didn't want to go that route. So I did experience venture into um, Indian restaurant industry here. So that's like probably like a lot of people like start businesses like Subway or a Dunkin' Donut, or especially Indian grocery store or a restaurant. So I did have a back in 2013 to 15, I had an Indian restaurant along with one of my partner, and it was okay. That was a good experience. I mean, I never had a business experience, so that gave me a lot of exposure. I kind of joke with people that that's like my live MBA, because you deal with clients, you deal with the staff, you deal with the procurement, you a lot of licenses, health department, everything, right? So it was a good
Most important to understand unit metrics, cash flows.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All the finances too, right? Like how to manage the finances, how to manage the staff and everything. So while doing that, I mean, especially that kind of I've been hearing about stories about real estate investments, the growth. Like when you talk to people, when you listen to people, like it's like I thought I need to like start building my portfolio, and that kind of it's like why I shouldn't be get the realtor license. And then when you taste something, right? Like I mean, I did my first sale, I was like, yeah, this looks good. And then like I was doing it more, and like people are reaching out to me to get my help and services, and that gave me satisfaction along with the money. So
Sorry. Interestingly, you said that you experienced it on your first sale. So, which means you started something in the part time, right? In 2017, you said you were actually doing time. How? I mean, one thing I observed, at least from whatever you've said, is that you always wanted to start something on your own because that has been driving. And from being from yeah, being from Andhra, your father's inspiration, plus the starting up hunger, right? Having something for yourself. With that, of you getting exposed to both IT and also, I would say, a restaurant or a proper retail business in that sense, a D2C. And again, you have tried your hand in real estate and as a part time, right? How it was it tough? Was it easy? Because many things can drive you into the industry, but having come into the industry, there will be some definitely. I mean, any journey would see certain shocks, right? The reality checks. So, what was that moment where you got in and said that this is no joke?
Yeah, yeah. That's true. I mean, like, so just to before I answer that, right? Like, so I've been to like a lot of auctions too before, and like I saw people um, like buying properties like with full cash and all that. So you see that like people always want to invest into properties, right? So and unless you try something and do it and experience it the first time, you are still on that unknown zone, right? Like you know what you know and you don't know what you don't know. So like always getting your first okay, it's I got my license, it's easy to get a license, right? Then what next? Like where I'm going to get my first listing to sell a property, or where am I getting my first buyer to buy the property? And of course, yeah, your friends want to buy something, but they know you're new, or like you don't know all this buying process, like even the paperwork that you need to do and all that. But of course, you that's what the license kind of trains you. And then of course, training is only like preparing for an exam, right? I mean, but you have to go and write the exam. So yeah, I started doing some open houses for some of the other experienced agents. Like, so here, like the concept is that like when you list a house, like a Saturday or Sunday, agents schedule a open house where, like, let's say 1 to 3 there is open house on a house. Then people will come. They can come without just like any agent. I mean, people, there would be serious buyers, or like just buyers just for time pass. They'll just come to the open house just to know the neighborhood, or just to see what upgrades they have done in the house, right? So I started doing that to get experience, at least, like, so that I get I mean, I have to do the open house in order to see what how I answer to the buyers, or like, I mean, I need to experience myself too, like being on the other side of the open house and not being the buyer myself, right? So there's always that nervousness sometimes, like when people ask questions and how to answer. Like, you don't want to lie too much, like, because you cannot say, hey, I sold like 10 homes, right? They'll eventually find out. And nowadays your data is always there, like on the internet too. Like, you can look up how many houses. Now I cannot say, hey, I sold 1,000 home experience, right? uh, it'll be in the ballpark, right? So there's always nervousness how to talk to them. And then that kind of gave me some confidence when I talked to buyers. And like also, like, I went to some friend's house, like where they wanted to sell a house, like to evaluate how to reach a price on the house, right? Like, you have to kind of, when you want to sell your house and I say, hey, you should list it at 300, 350, 400. You don't want to list it like too much high where you're not getting any buyers. At the same time, you don't want to list it at low where the seller is losing the money. So you need to experience that. And of course, like when you start doing it, as I said, when you get the first sale or first buy, then you know some things, that you gain some experience, and then from that you start to build for the next one.
How long it took for you to do your first sale from where you started?
So I got my license, but then I was not really active. I was like, I mean, just I was like busy with my IT job, like as usual. But I got a good push from one of my friends, Satya. He just like took me to a closing, and then sitting at the closing table. I mean, I was not part of the deal, but he was just selling his house. He's like, oh, come along with me, and then we went there, like sitting at the closing table. And then that was a good experience, like where like the cash, the I mean, people were getting paid commissions and all that. It's like that kind of gave me a push. And then after that, from that day, probably took me like another 3 to 4 months to get my first sale on the buyer side. So but by the time I would have done, probably I would have started showing like to 4 or 5 people, like a lot of houses. Like, I'm also gaining experience. I mean, what to look into the house, right? Like, I mean, it's not just about opening the door and like letting the buyer see it, but you need to see the value in the house. Like, what is the good, what is the bad, because most of the time, the buyers also don't know, right? They could be like first time buyers. They don't know what to see in the house. So it's like you need to, I mean, it's like a different set of eyes. Of course, there will be inspection and everything, but before you even go to an inspection, based on the price that was listed, you need to figure out like what is the value of the product, right? That you're buying, or like you're asking somebody to buy. So it's a lot of responsibility too, like in the sense you can convince only so much, right? Like sometimes each and every person is different. You see the product in a different way, and I see it in a different way. So again, like it's all seeing at the end of the day, it's like putting everything on the table and see what's the good part of that house has, what is the bad, what needs to be upgraded, and all that. So I started doing that, and people saw value in it. So
When was it that you said that, okay, hey, this is full time for me. Let me quit my job from IT.
So yeah, it's a weird situation to be actually like. I mean, during COVID, right? I mean, like we had COVID in 29, like February, March of 2020, right? So yeah, I mean, a lot of people were working from home, and earlier it used to be like all the showings used to be in the evening or in the weekend, but now with all the people sitting at homes and like working from home, they could get permission from their manager. I mean, once the COVID subsided a little bit, people ventured out and said like, "Oh, I need to buy a house," right? Especially during the COVID, the market was so bad. I mean, I thought like the market, nobody wanted to buy a house, and like even during that time, like I lost like almost close to 5 to 10 deals because either people were afraid or what happens if they buy and something happens to one of them, right? Because of the COVID. So they didn't want to make that biggest purchase of their life. And sometimes, like in few cases, like some of them got fired or laid off because of the market conditions. So, and then also people stopped buying and even in the new homes and everything. So a lot of deals were there, but nobody was grabbing up, obviously, because of the unknown, right? For the first 5 to 6 months. After that, like everybody wanted bigger homes. They don't want to stay in the high rises, or they don't want in the townhomes anymore. They want a bigger space so that their kids can play in the backyard or in the basement or whatever. They don't want, and especially with the remote, they needed that extra room or two, depending on if one of them working from or two of them are working in the house. So they needed to. And I had one client where he was like, "I'll buy anything, just go give me four walls." So there was such kind of demand at one point that like yeah, the inventory was like going like left and right. So it's been tough. I mean, especially that is when a lot of multiple offer situations were coming in, a lot of bidding going on, like more than the asking price, or even something called appraisal waiver that people didn't know until that point. I mean, I knew it on one of my transaction, but then from during COVID, like that became more like a very common term. Is like, oh, I'll give you full appraisal waiver. That means like whatever price we are agreeing on, I'll buy it no matter what the bank decides on the price. So even if you come shorter by like 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, people were ready to pay it. And some of them even bought homes even without home inspections. So during the time, like coming back to your question, what happened was everybody wanted to see the house right now, right then. So it hits the market, people are like, oh, let's go see it. So then it didn't make sense for me, and then I thought, even like I was doing good at the time, like my part-time has developed such a way that I was at a point where I said, okay, I'm liking it, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, people are respecting my services, or like they know what I good at. And then there I was getting referrals from friends who I closed, or like friends who referred me just because of I was friends with them. So I was like, okay, I'll see. I mean, like, I'll try it for 2 years as a full time. If it doesn't work out, I can always come back to my IT, or maybe I'll find some new technology or new business, right? So
No, one thing is very inspiring is that, or probably you are overlooking, is that at this age, for somebody to lose a cabin and get out there and do site visits and open houses, right? That's something which is remarkable. I would say it is not going to be easy, right? Because it's hard enough miles, kilometers, which you have to do for a sale or a deal, right? So
yeah, on an average, generally a person driving a car to work does anywhere from 8,000 to 12,000 miles in Chicago. in the last 2 years, I've been doing like 25,000 miles minimum on my car. So, so yeah, like you said, yeah, it was tough to come out of that comfort zone, right? Like you're getting your benefits, you're getting your appraisals. I mean, if I take a 1 hour off, in the sense like I'm very good friends with my manager. I was like, oh, I need to drop my kid there, or like I need to go to the school to watch his performance or whatever. I have that luxury, right? Where I mean, like because I've been working in with the team like for a while, and then I have that comfort level. I was getting my benefits, my social security, health insurance, and everything. It's a big decision, and I had a very good support from my family too, from my wife and my kids. So, and they were like, I mean, you need that support, especially from the family. That's first and foremost, and then of course support from friends, or like, I mean, and of course you need to build your reputation, and your hard work is what like gives you that reputation or like your recognition.
Absolutely. So with weekends getting occupied, as you are talking about your family and things, with weekends getting occupied, festive time or any holiday season is where your buyers or sellers are typically, they don't really mind about the days. It's more of the market trends, right, which determine as to how you want to occupy and put that effort. So how do you take breaks? Because weekends are busy, right?
No, definitely. I mean, we for us like almost like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are like the busiest days of the week, right? And then Monday, so I was joking the other day, like earlier, like I used to dread when Monday was coming, but now I like when Monday is coming because Monday is like a little bit lull for me. Like I can relax a little bit or do the paperwork. But then again, like as you're pacing into the week, like Thursday, then the demand, like based on, because most of the houses in the market, the realtors tend to release it like Wednesday night or Thursday. So you see the maximum exposure for the buyers, or the on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday kind of again wanes down a little bit. So it all depends on the inventory in the market, which is very low right now. But yeah, it is what it is. Like everybody wants to see the house, right? So the other thing is like, yeah, I mean, before 21 I was doing all alone by myself, and then one of my friend also, just like probably inspired by me, or like you know the bug bites everybody, right? So he wanted to get his realtor license, and like and we were at a party, and I was like, oh, I think I need some help, because like I have a lot of buyers, but my time is kind of limited. At the time I didn't go full time on it yet. So when I said that, he was like, "Oh, okay, I'll get my license." And then once he got it, like then we kind of became partners as a team, and that kind of helped a bit. So to balance. So the prior year, like I closed all by myself, like close to 35 homes, probably 18 million or something. But then the next year when he joined, we kind of maybe the market also helped us, like the COVID or what. I mean, the post COVID, all the purchase craze frenzy and all that. So we did 103 homes the next year. So it's kind of, with the partnership, we kind of made it like 300%.
No, I mean, I was about to ask you, like, how are you still in the, going loan? I mean, alone, or you have a team and things. You were talking about your partner. So what's next, Sai? I mean, with this in the last 2.5 years, I'm sure there will be some aspiration towards next moves, right? How are you inching? Because things are growing for you. I'm sure with coming from tech, I need not ask you whether tech has impacted. Tech is something, so you already know when to actually bring in what, right? But more, I would say more in terms of your team building. How is it that you are thinking of occupying more geographies or servicing more geographies? Thinking on those lines now.
So one is like the the trickiest part of real estate is like you need to be there, like to show the property, right? I mean, like I cannot ask somebody, "Oh, just go see the property and then I'll put an offer for you." Like you have to be there, and most of the time we, like both me and my partner Raj, like we want to see the property before we put an offer for any of our clients. And a lot of times too, like we only suggest if it is a, I mean, like I mean, even though they want to buy it, then we give the pros and cons, and like just like as if I'm buying the property, whether I buy it or not, right? With that confidence only, I'll tell them, suggest if they should go forward or not, or like what price, what is the minimum and maximum price where we can probably get it based on the marketing conditions. So uh, so a lot of people like that and want to work with us because of the way that we treat them. So it's always tough to, I mean, you can always increase your team. I mean, I can get people onto board, but then you don't want to compromise on the quality, right? Especially when somebody comes to your reference based on that. So that has been but we need to figure out a way how to do it, like get some very qualified and like similar passion realtors, if I may say. And at the same time, the market has changed a little bit now with all I don't know how much you're familiar. There was like a big lawsuit that happened recently in the American industry on the, especially the real estate side. So there's a change in commissions and everything. So there's a lot of changes coming on. So that will change the field a little bit. Like they are expecting that some of the agents will go out of business, and some of them will survive. Yeah. On the transaction, there's always like two sides, right? Like the selling side and the buyer side. Like you want to sell a house, and like, so I'll come to you and say, hey, yeah, you want to sell your house. Your house is worth 500K. I would charge you, like, let's say 5%. And of that 5%, I can decide based on, with your permission, I can tell you, hey, I'll take 3% and I'll give the buyer agent a 2%. Or I might say, I'll take 2.5, I'll give 2.5. Or in one scenario, if I think it's tough to sell and there's not much buyers, to entice more buyers, I might say, hey, I'll only take 2%, but I'll give 3% to the buyer side. So at the time of our listing agreement itself, we decide how much we are sharing, how much I'm charging you, and of which I'm sharing. But now, because of the lawsuit, I think the idea was that like the seller had an had never an option like not to pay the buyer agent. So you're kind of forced to pay that 5%. So now with the new rule, what I will tell you is like, hey, I can list you at 500. My charge is 2% or 3%, and it's up to you if you want to pay the buyer agent or not. So that was the first change that came in, and now what they did was they even removed the buyer's compensation field in the MLS. From It will be in effect from July 1st. So that way, I mean, they have a different way to kind of see how to pay a buyer agent, and now the buyer agent has a more work to do, in the sense, when you want to buy through me, I'll tell you, hey, Arun, for some of the houses they may not pay me. In that case, like, you have to pay me so and so x amount dollars, or even, like, let's say percentage, right? Percentage of the sale price. So that's changing. It's a age old tradition, like almost like close to 100 years, whatever, like they've been following. Now it's a major shift in that compensation part. So a lot of agents, because of this extra work, or like not having a compensation. And nowadays, even with this market, we are seeing some homes are paying like $1,000, some homes paying like maybe $3,000, or 2% or 1.5%. So that's going to change. It's not like the media said, oh, the 6% era is gone. But 6% was like way, even before when I started. I mean, like, where they shared like 3.3% and 3%, or 3.5 and 2.5. So media has been highlighting, saying that the 6% era is gone, but it's not gone, but it's still there. It's just a different way of making the sellers understand and making the buyers understand.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it would definitely go towards where every seller broker would directly start advertising and acquiring buyers directly from marketplaces. That's where you basically avoid.
We always do that, but the thing is, there's a clause called, like, a lot of companies, brokerages here, they don't allow dual agency because of the conflict of interest. So I can, once I list it, like, I may not be the then, if my brokerage doesn't allow dual agency, I need to refer you to another agent in my company, where like you're maintaining the confidentiality of what the seller is talking to me and what the buyer is. It's really tough, difficult, like to be honest, like being a dual agent on seller and buyer side in the same transaction, because you can probably doing justice only on one side of the transaction. Yeah. And especially when there are a lot of multiple offers on that property, right? So you can.
You're saying dual agency is not possible. Only those who aggregate is not allowing. My thing is that when you say dual brokerage is not possible, it is only to do with your agency, right? Wherever you have got license from, or your MLS access.
Yeah. So there could be like 10 brokerage different companies, right? So one agency might elevate, one agency will not elevate because they don't want the like some of them to sue them, and then it'll become a big issue, because like if one side of the client feels that they didn't get the right advice or the right kind of a treatment, so they want to avoid those kind of scenarios. And sometimes agents, like because you get paid now on both sides, I mean, you might just there have been cases where like you're not giving full justice to both sides of the party when you're in the transaction.
But I'm just curious, why can't you, having sold few hundred homes right now, you would have your customer base who are loyal to you, right? So when they are intending selling it back in the market, won't they come to you directly, and probably you will be able to have your own inventory, at least, which is less in.
Yeah. I mean, definitely you can do that, but again, there's a lot of I mean, like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of competition, and then there are a lot of options, especially people. I mean, sometimes consider like how they can get better value or better return or better service too, as such, right? You have their own perception sometimes. So I mean, there's a lot of choice. I mean, I do have my own clientele where like either whenever they're buying any investment property, they buy through me, or whenever they want to sell any property, they'll reach out to me. But then again, eh, just being a fair market, everybody has their own fan base and also their own.
Yeah, this is where even this the same trend is happening in India also, where people are starting. I mean, people are in this conflict, or people are seeing this market change of regulations. I would say, on a general note, um, they are starting to go into personal branding and become a brand themselves to build the trust factor, and could stand out from the market. Like as you said, you spoke about the fairness or the options available for a seller and a buyer, right? So how much is that going to play around, you think, or is it that which you are also thinking, like, how much Sai Ravi as a brand is going to build in the social media? Because whatever we see in social media today becomes reality, or whatever we see in online is almost close to reality, not the anything else, right? So
Right. Yeah. So yeah, definitely personal branding is important, right? In any business, any market, in any venue right now, like especially with all the social media, TikTok, and the Instagram era, like it's very important. And you need to be really very working hard, and then also like be reasonable, and then be very productive, like right, like where you're adding value to whoever your audience is. That is when you kind of sustain in any kind of business. And sometimes there will be always new challenges like this that we are facing right now, and there will be more new players also at the same time, right? I mean, so when I started my real estate, and then I started like probably taking some clients away from some senior realtors, and then now I see that too, like happening, because like a lot of in the last 2 years there are a lot of new agents like who did very good business in their network, and then probably I would have those clients, but I cannot just like cry over it, or like I just need to move on, and then like still find my fan base and do whatever best service I can do. And coming to like the one that we are always thinking is like there are always big giants, right? Like, so we have like Zillow.com, Homes.com, or like even Redfin.com. They eventually become probably platforms where like earlier when we are talking, right? Like the seller might directly go to them and say, "Hey, sell my house for me," right? So I think we'll see. Even sometimes we joke, Amazon will start selling homes. They recently started selling cars on their website now, so it's probably matter of time. So you kind of expect a change and normal change, or even a not gradual change, or even like very impactive change, right? Like where things will change very drastically, and then you need to adapt to it. You need to take it as a challenge if you want to survive, or otherwise you'll be obsolete.
Absolutely. So more of what you're saying is that sellers are going to go towards platforms, and individual people have to go on to have their own base of buyer centric approach, and be loyal. That would give a much more consistent play.
Yeah, so you need to show your value, right? Like the thing is, uh, I can start my own brokerage now, or like I can work with a different brokerage, right? Or you can go and probably work with one of these platforms eventually, or even the builders. So it's like what how you want to create a value. Like right now, a lot of buyers work with me, a lot of investors work with me, or like even the sellers will eventually call me and say, "Hey, I want to sell my house. Can you help me?" Right? So they come to a certain person because either you're doing a good service, or like you're bringing that expertise in that area, or you can they believe that you'll get them good value on their property, or show a good property, right? I mean, a lot of investors, they keep buying. I mean, that's the trust, and that's the you build with them, and then that once they trust you and they see the value in you, you show the value, that'll be the core um, what do you call like core values that you show to them, right? So and you have to uh, sustain that trust and everything, like by repeating that same process and not losing.
To start, just out of curiosity, to get a license, it is state license, right? So if or you could get a bigger license to operate.
No, it's all state by state. So there are national level laws, like where like in for the fair housing laws, and like the anti-discrimination laws and all that. Even now, when we renew our license, like we have to do the license renewal every 2 years, and then you have to do that continuing education of 12 credits, where you do the ethics and moral class, like sexual harassment, like what's considered sexual harassment or not, right? And then your own safety too, as an agent, when you're out there like showing properties. You could be in a good area, you could be in a bad area, and for a lot of women, or even for men, right? Like when they're doing open houses, like you can be attacked, or like because you're all alone in a house, right? So, and they know that some open house is happening, or like how many cars are there, or how many people are there. So and of course, like what are the new laws that are changing, or like it's all refreshing all your what to do, what not to do in the industry. So so at the national level you have some laws, and each and every state, they have their own laws. So it could be like on top of the national, like more classes, like where they're protected, right? So in some areas, you can ask like whether your kids or not, like you cannot ask it. That's a protected class. The veterans, handicapped, a lot of them, like the like religion and martial status and all that. So
How much does it cost to get a license on an average uh, for somebody to start?
So license is probably around like $200 to $300. But then when you're studying for it, and then you might take a course with some other website, or like that could be like anywhere from $500 to $600, because there are some mandatory credit hours that you have to do, especially the state laws. And then you write the exam, so there's a examination fees, obviously, and then the license, and then there'll be like insurance that you need to carry every month, the emissions and omissions and liability insurance.
How much does that? I mean, total put together, how much somebody?
That's probably that. So every month I would say on an average maybe around $100, the insurance memberships, because again like so you are tied to a brokerage, and then on top of it you are also related to like an organization, and then of course you use for the documentation fees or like the MLS access and everything. So everything put together probably I would say like around 100 to $120 monthly fees, and then you have to renew your license like every 2 years. So on top of that, and then again, if you want to do any advertising marketing, that's your how much you can do zero, and you can do whatever the maximum.
No, you do advertising, you do marketing, by any chance?
Yeah, so sometimes we do like I mean like Facebook, Instagram posts. Sometimes we boost different like let's say I'm listing in a like a rental or even a sale. Like I would like to boost it on Facebook or even like Instagram or like all these like different social media platforms. And then of course you have WhatsApp, like where you share your like details, and my biggest audience is probably so far like still Indians and like more Telugu folks around. So I do support like a lot of these cultural organizations too, like for their yearly sponsorships, or like I do conduct like seminars, or like where I bring in value by putting like a loan officer, like attorney or CPA or insurance agent, everybody on, and like even a syndicate developer, like everybody on one stage, and then we bring in we did it like one last year, like where like 90 people turned out, and it turned out to be a very good informative session.
Don't mind again, for our audience sake, the various stakeholders whom you spoke about quickly on them, as to who they are, what they do.
Yeah. So like everybody that's involved either in the real estate or all around you, right? Pretty much. So like first, like let's say me as a realtor, like I mean, I'll find you a house. Then you need an attorney to close on the deal, or like to do a will or a trust, right? And then you need an insurance agent, kind of to take care of your life insurance, or like to protect your properties, or like how if something happens to you or one of the family member, you want to protect your assets or like the lifestyle, right? And then the syndicate developer I said was like, in the last couple of years, because now you can invest anywhere, right? All these syndicate deals is like where people are pooling money. It's like a crowdfunded, right? Instead of going to a bank for a loan, like people are buying apartments or multi units, and like everybody, the crowd is funding it, and then you get your yearly interest rate or even returns based on like once you sell the property, you get your returns back based on the. So there were a lot of projects that were happening, so I wanted people to kind of experience that. I myself have invested in a couple of projects like that, so we thought, yeah, hey, let's bring somebody in, like I mean he has an experience building or renovating like 300 plus apartment complexes, where they crowdsource the funding, or like get whatever funding they want, and then go for the remaining part as a loan. So and then sometimes CPA for doing your taxes, right? And then also like one we might probably do in next couple of months is like involves a title company. Like what exactly happens at a title company? It's almost like similar to a registration, let's say, company in India, like where they check all the documents, like if there are any liens or any back taxes on it or whatever. So that's where all the monies are handled and like distributed, like what the seller is getting, what the commission, what the banker, or like all the distributed through the title company.
So, there is a home loan assistant also you provide.
I mean, like we give not exactly an assistant, but then I mean, the buyer, when I'm dealing with the buyer, they are at their freedom to kind of go search for different banks or like lenders, mortgage lenders, to go and like shop around for the rate, who is giving you best rate based on the day. But yeah, we do have a list of mortgage lenders that we regularly work with, and we give that list to the buyers. They are at their freedom to kind of shop around and see, because um, y- uh, each and every, like probably just like in India too. Here we have that credit score, right? Like so the credit score, the income, and it comes down to how much debts you have versus how much assets, the debt to asset ratio. So based on that, the interest rate changes varies from bank to bank, and there could be some incentives or promotions going on. So it's always good to shop around. And so I mean, you cannot, like, home inspectors, the mortgage lenders, attorneys, so all this kind of the buyer will have the luxury to kind of shop around. And we'll give that, we have that network where we regularly work with few people, so we kind of recommend those. And end of the day, the buyer picks based on the returns, or like the, yeah, value provided.
No, no. Having listed the people, I'm sure the buyers would know the. I mean, why requirement for a buyer to come to a realtor is something which is very evident, right? So, with the amount of process.
Lot of to be honest, I mean, maybe it's the same case in India, but a lot of people don't realize the value that gets added. Some people don't use a realtor knowing, not knowing that as a buyer they don't have to pay the realtor, but maybe that's changing now. Eventually in the next 2 months they might have to pay the buyers but the realtor now. But until now the buyers never had to pay the realtor. It's like a free service that you're getting, because the buyer agent always gets paid by the builder or by the seller in a way. But again, it's a complex logic, how the commission is being paid, right? The seller always think the seller is paying the commission, and the buyer always think the buyer is paying commission. But because the whole deal is happening, the commissions are part of the deal. It's kind of, you can say, split between buyer and seller. Or because you don't know how much the home would have sold if you didn't have any realtors in between, right? But then we tend to work, I mean, because a lot of buyers have that, either they are first time buyers, or they don't know what they don't know, like what to look for, like some of the terms also, right? Like especially if it's a lot of Indians coming from India, like they are here for 2 years, they rent it and all that. But then once they start thinking that they want to buy a house, then there are a lot of new, and like that unknown zone they're stepping into. So what is mortgage, what is the earnest money, what is inspection, what is appraisal waiver, what is escalation clause, what is as is. So there are a lot of things that as a realtor we explain them. Sometimes you have to patiently explain them and sit down and say what the process is. I mean, I would have given the same Shapil, like, to a lot of buyers, right? Like every time you repeat that. I mean, sometimes they'll buy through me, or sometimes they don't. But again, but the knowledge you impart onto them, that'll kind of help them eventually, because not all the agents would walk you through all it. I could easily say, hey, I'm not a mortgage. I mean, of course, I'm not giving you any legal advice or a mortgage advice, but at the same, I can explain you some terms and say, hey, this is what I know. If you need more details, talk to this lender, talk to this attorney. I can guide you that way, so that if you have any more detailed questions, or like you want more detailed information, I can guide you to the right way.
No. So, I mean, a simple, straightforward, probably a cliche question is that what would you advise for the younger self of yourself? If at all you had exposed to real estate probably in 2010 or 2011, would you have taken it much earlier? Or what? I mean, what do you think right now?
Yeah, I would have definitely taken it much earlier, and then it was a good. I mean, see, the market always keeps changing. I mean, like now looking back, oh, I mean, there's always a up and down market here, and especially in US. In India, it's probably a little bit different because the land is less, and then you have more people and more like a lot of all those parametrics, right? Whereas here this land is vast, but then again there are very good areas in a city, and like bad areas in city, like people always wanting to stay on one side of the city. So not many new people might know. And then even in the building construction, there's a lot of choices here compared to probably in India. I mean, I never bought a house in India, but now here, like at least like, oh, what to pick, what not to pick, right? What option to go, what you must get now, and what you may not get it later, right? So there's a lot of options to go through. So like a younger myself, I would have loved to like I would have gotten into it much earlier. Like I would have done even more better. And the market was looking back is always good, right? Like in the like they say in the hindsight, but the rear view mirror is always good. But here also, like people have gone through the bad phases, like 2007, the market crash and all that. Then 2010 is a little bit better, but then 2012 and 13 there was a little bit small crash, and then so it's like kind of cyclic. But now it's been for a long time. Again, like during COVID too, there's a lot of panic going on, what to do, what not to do, and then now it's like the market is crazy. I'm like, even when I talk to a lot of senior agents, they say we have not seen this kind of a market. Whatever we used to hear in California a couple of years back, oh, somebody bought like with 100k more than the asking price, or 150 more than asking price. We are seeing a little bit here, like not in that same magnitude, but 50k more, 60k more than the asking price, and like I mean like 10% more. So it's Chicago has never seen that kind of a market, and each and every area is its own, right? Like I mean, Texas is a different market, Atlanta is different, Seattle, Washington, California. So every Florida is a totally different market. I mean, there might be some areas like where it's not that crazy, but still, I mean, there's less inventory. People always want to go on the greener pastures where it gets more costlier, right? So
Fantastic. I mean, I would say it's been
just I mean, to add to that point, like for the young people, right? I would say don't be afraid. Like I mean, yeah, I mean, you can always either you can decide to sit in a comfort zone, or like get out of the comfort zone and do what you're passionate about. I mean, and it's okay to fail. I mean, I failed as a restaurant owner, but then it didn't stop me. Like, I want to try something different. I mean, like, I like it now. Maybe a few years later, I might something else, find something else. But I still believe that real estate is one of the best. I mean, I think if anybody wants to become rich, or like even get a pass, like, I mean, we can go on and on, like for about the active income, passive income, like the tax savings, the tax loopholes. Like I think a lot of people who have become rich in the entire history are based on real estate, nothing but real estate. I mean, somebody said like you can become rich by stocks, but a lot of people, it's a big ocean. Real estate, at least you have some tangible product that you see, right? And then you can pass it on to your next generation. You can sell. I mean, it might take some time here and there, but still, I mean, people buy gold and all. Like real estate is always gold, in my opinion. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Everybody should buy in whatever limited quantity, or whenever they can start and feel thing is like it's the right time. I mean, especially in India, the market has a huge potential, right? I mean, like with the builder, like if you're buying before the builder, the pre-sale time, and then like by the time it's constructed, I mean, there might be some delays and all, but then I think risk there's risk involved, but I think there's good returns involved, and then coming out of comfort zone and do what chase your dreams sometimes.
fantastic. I mean, I think this has been very, very informational. I would say very candid. You were not holding back at any point of time. You were actually throwing a lot of information. I'm sure audience also is going to just say the same. So
Yeah, I was going through a lot of thoughts in my mind. Like when I was talking, I know sometimes maybe a couple of questions you asked me something, but maybe I answered something different. But because I wanted to put the information out there.
we were able to relate, and I'm sure there was a lot of questions and a lot of aspects of I mean things which you spoke about. Probably we couldn't address more. I would say probably we need another session to even ask you in many aspects.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. I mean, like if you have, I mean, yeah, we can chat on a separate lane, and then like maybe if you find something that add value to your podcast or to your audience, and I'm always willing to help. And if anybody wants to reach out to me in terms of any investments, advice, or like, I mean, I can do whatever. I'm not saying I'm not a genius, I'm a smart person, but whatever I know, I'll put it out there the way that, I mean, like I have delayed like acquiring some property, I mean like some investment myself, but once I started doing the real estate, and then like I said, like, before I advise somebody to buy a property, I should buy. So I started acquiring some properties for myself, because you have to talk the talk, you have to walk the walk, right? So so that gives confidence. And very interestingly, like last year, me and a couple of my friends, like, we bought some land here, and then until that point, like, whenever I was telling my clients to, like, invest in land, because that area is growing, people, I mean, they hear you, but it's not like there's no, like, what do you call the commitment, or like sometimes they don't see the real value in it. But then once we invested in it, and like people came to know about it, like, now everybody wanted to buy, or they saw the potential, and then they saw the things coming out, like, not just us, but a lot of other builders were coming in that area, and now everybody's buying in that area. So it's like, sometimes it works out, like, I mean, you need to take that bold step yourself, and then before you ask somebody to follow your path, right? So
No, very true, very true words. Great, Sai. I mean, as I said, lot of questions is popping in my head, but due to time constraint, I'm just holding for this session. Thanks for offering. I mean, offering that you would be available for us in the future as well. So we will probably, definitely have chats to explore more of U.S. market, Chicago especially, as to various dimensions you've spoken about of land as a new options or model, various business models and revenue streams, which is also happening, which I could see. So. Uh,
yeah, that is one way we I mean, like, earlier when you said, where would be probably going next, right? So that's something that we are exploring. We have been acquiring some land in and around the Chicago area. So that is one, definitely, like, where we want to get into the development side of it. We have one side where we could develop like 50 townhomes, and we have acquired some commercial land where uh, just today, actually, very coincidentally, just today, somebody approached us, like, and they wanted to buy some land for developing a, what do you call, the gas station, the petrol bunk, right? Yeah, so that's, I mean, that it's like, yeah, adding, like, I mean, either you're getting good return of investment, or like you add value to the land and then try to entice more commercial businesses. That's the plan. And then the other one also, I have, like, when you asked about the state license, right? Like, I have licenses in Indiana, and then Chicago. My partner has licenses in Illinois, and then Georgia, and also Florida. So Florida is some place where, like, a lot of people are now very interested. Like, it's almost like a retirement state. Once kids are done with schools or colleges here, like, people go there, Florida, for the weather, like the beaches. They want to retire there. So a lot of land acquisition is also happening in Florida, and that is where we want to concentrate on our business level. So that's where I might add like few more agents, and like for and see. I mean, there are some plans. It just need to be more concrete before I put them into execution.
I mean, this is very, very informational, Sai. I mean, thanks for the time. Looking forward to have many more sessions like that very soon. That's going to happen because already you seem to be growing very, very strong in terms of exploring many more revenue streams. And once you get into developments and things like that, this is definitely going to be there. So I wish you that you become the next Keller Williams of your own Chicago. So all the best,
That'll be really awesome. Yeah, why not? Yeah, there are definitely opportunities out there. Like, it's just like how you evaluate them and how you grab them, right? So
Today, I see this decade to be more regional than consolidated national. So there will be many more Keller Williams regionally, right, coming up, and with various regulations we are talking about and things like that. Regional information is going to dominate. Uh, so yeah. So all the very best. Thanks for your time. See you in a
oh, thank you so much, Arun. It felt like very genuine, like just yeah, just exchanging ideas and like answering your questions. It's been really fun. I really appreciate you taking time, and then I wish you all the best, and then your audience all the best, and then we'll catch up sometime soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.